So my name is Thomas, and I am codependent. This year's Texas CoDA retreat is called Rooted in Recovery. I'd like to share with you briefly what being rooted in recovery means to me and why I'm here. At age 17, I had a spiritual awakening. For me, the change happened overnight as I slept. One night back in November of 1982, in a last desperate attempt to find a reason to continue living, I cried out to an unknown God that I didn't know existed. Step one, we admitted we were powerless over others and that our lives had become unmanageable. I was lonely, depressed, drug dependent, and suicidal. I had started drinking at age 13, added drugs at age 15, and at age 17, I was burned out on life and ready to exit. I had spent the previous 6 months in deep depression and isolation, drowning my pain with drugs and alcohol for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was my senior year of high school. That year in English class, we had an assignment to write a poem. It had to be 3 stanzas in AABB rhyme scheme. This is the poem I wrote. Floating alone on an endless sea, this is crushing waves billow over me. The emptiness all around is the feeling that I have found. Desperate for the light of day, smothered in a cloud of gray, cascading darkness locked within, no hope for me to win. How does one devise a plan to remain a living man? The next morning, after my cry for help, I went outside, and immediately I noticed the grass, the leaves, the trees, the sky. It's as though I was seeing them for the very first time. When I arrived at school that day, I realized that I had not loaded up my little trusty pipe with hash. Also, the heaviness and despair that I usually felt was gone. Someone had heard my cry. The next few years were very hard, but I had hope and I knew I was not alone anymore. Step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The desire to find what had happened to me and to find out more about this being who had not only heard my cry, but was actually helping me became my new goal. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of God as we understood God. Peace and purpose emerged within me. I was learning and growing and really enjoying life by age 20. And with my higher power's help, I was slaying some of my codependent behaviors. I had a desire to be healthy in 5 areas of my life. I wanted to be healthy spiritually, mentally, physically, socially, and financially. So I listened to cassette tapes. Yes, back in the day, cassette tapes. Bought books to read, went to conferences, and did my best to implement what I was learning. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will and for us and the power to carry that out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other codependents and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So why am I here now? About 3.5 years ago, my spouse and I separated. Neither of us thought there was any hope for us. I remember sitting in my study at my desk, looking out at the trees and thinking, how did I get here? In this situation with the one person on this planet that I vowed my love to so many years ago. How could I have been so blind not to see how my dysfunctional childhood default behaviors were building walls between us? We were friends, but I was emotionally a child. I thought that by avoiding conflict, I was showing love, keeping the peace. But what was really happening was that I was exhibiting my codependent default behaviors. Each time I did this, I added another brick to the wall being built between us. I thought that by burying my feelings of hurt and my needs that I was showing love. I wasn't rocking the boat, I was keeping the peace. Another brick to the wall. Each time I did not address the feelings that kept surfacing, those feelings and thoughts that kept me up at night, another brick to the wall. Each time I gave advice instead of just listening, another brick. Each time I tried to convince her what to do, think, and feel, another brick. Each time I self-medicated, sitting in front of the TV, another brick. Unknowingly, I had been emotionally isolating her. That first day, sitting at my desk felt very uncomfortable. I didn't feel like starting step one. I wanted to self-medicate by vegging out in front of the TV and drown out the pain I was feeling. But I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be a man who does not run from hard times and difficult situations. I wanted to be a man who stays the course, even in the face of heart-wrenching pain. I wanted to have a healthy relationship with my spouse. Even if we decided to go our separate ways, I wanted her to be happy. So I made myself open the blue book and read the section on step one. Then I opened the green workbook and I read step one and answered question one. Then the next day I did question two. On the days that I couldn't muster the courage, I gave myself a break. But I had set myself a goal to do the 12 steps in 1 year, so I knew I needed to complete step one in a month. I thought steps 1 through 3 were hard until I got to step 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 4 floored me. The mirror that I saw myself through was foggy with all the years of buried emotions. I couldn't be honest with myself at first. As I read the 5 patterns and 55 characteristics of codependency, they had a hard time penetrating through my hard shell. But something must be wrong. It can't just be my wife who's at fault here. I have to take some responsibility. I started reading the list again with a pencil in hand. This time as I read, I found myself circling 23 characteristics of codependency. I had some serious issues to deal with. As I finished step 4, I finally found a sponsor. I completed the 12 steps and traditions, my 12th month in CoDA. My second year in CoDA, I kept doing everything I had been doing. Attending meetings, sharing, service work, daily reading from In This Moment Daily Meditation book, daily reading from the LOLG, the language of letting go, journaling. But my second year, I didn't open my green workbook or the blue book. At the beginning of my third year in recovery, I told myself to go back and reread the workbook and to review all the steps and traditions and to read all the stories in the back of the blue book. I gave myself a year to do this. This time, second time around, when I got to step 4, something happened that I had not been expecting. I was reading through my history inventory when something inside me broke. It was like there was a dam that had been holding all these emotions back, and finally someone had opened it and water burst forth. I saw myself as I really was, a man wanting to be perfect because I was raised with that mindset. Yet at that moment, I realized there were some areas in my inner life that were seriously broken. I began to weep as I saw how I isolated my spouse at times, getting mad at some trivial small thing, and then I would not talk or even look at her sometimes for 1 to 2 to 3 days. Wow, how could I have done that for so many years to the most important person in my life? About 2.5 years of staying rooted in my recovery and still separated from my spouse, one day she said to me, "Thomas, you're really changing." There are 2 CoDA promises that have come to pass for me, and I'd like to read them to you now. Promise 7. I am capable of developing and maintaining healthy and loving relationships. The need to control and manipulate others will disappear as I learn to trust those who are trustworthy. And Promise 8. I learned that it is possible for me to mend, to become more loving, intimate, and supportive. I have the choice of communicating with my family in a way that is safe for me and respectful of them. So my CoDA journey continues, and I plan on doing what it takes to stay rooted in my recovery because it works if I work it, and I'm worth it. I hope you will also continue staying rooted in your recovery because you're worth it too. Thanks for listening.